got this circle here. We got 4 spots we're gonna drill a hole on. When I was planning the purpose of this deburring tool, when I was doing the frame for the water pump bracket, this is what happens when you drill into any metal, most metals. The way you clean that is like you can just file it off and it'll be done with, or you can have one of these, put on a drill bit and clean it. I did it good because it's just aluminum, so it's soft. It leaves a nice deburr finish, and then it's mainly for the back too, so do the same on both front and back. Now you have a deburr hole. So this piece is for the firewall. There's a similar one right there. You can see the battery cables running too. And this one is for this side. So it mounts to the chassis. It's aluminum, it's removable. We could add to this if we need to. It could be taken off the car to do whatever we need to do to it. So we could put a sealer or weather stripping so it's sealed from the compartment, engine compartment. But yeah, it's for that, and then we'll build one now for this, which should be where all the oil bulkheads will be going to.
Starting off my video here in my garage, and I'm gonna decide which whip am I gonna take out today. Maybe the turbo, maybe the RTR, maybe the 34 GTR. Or take out the real whip, the dirt bike. I don't know if I mentioned to you guys, but Grant brought her down from Connecticut. So I got my own little pitter down here. She's lifted, I'm gifted. We'll start off the day with some exciting new trails. Fuel injection is the shit, by the way. I've never had a dirt bike that starts so easy every single time. And electric starts pretty sick too. I do miss my 150R though, that's up in Connecticut, I'm not gonna lie. So if you guys saw my Instagram story, my buddy Jay Dalton's in town. Jay, what is this first off? Explain.
This is my garage. You know, we got some knowledge. I don't have my bookshelf in there or my Lamborghini, but.
Wait, so Jay has no idea how I just started this video. I literally started this video here in my garage, like dead ass. Like, that's crazy you said that.
Yeah, we don't have a Lamborghini,
but
we do have a nice, beautiful blue machine.
Let me tell you, sizes and everything, but when I hear this thing, I'm gonna wish I had a 2-stroke. I know that. Hell yeah, stinks sick. Wait, does it got the V-Touch?
The V-Touch?
Have you ever tried?
Oh, the V-Touch.
Yeah, where you do the thing. Have you ridden it? Can I kiss it?
You can kiss it. Yeah,
all right, ready? Let's see if he's got the V-Touch. All right, ready?
There's no way.
There's no way?
There's no
Let's see if he's got the V-Touch. Is it neutral?
Here, let me move this so you get
Am I gonna like demolish my hand if I try this?
No, but it might. If you don't push all the way through, it's probably gonna hurt.
All right, ready?
Give her.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how that fool does that.
Yeah, there's this dude on Instagram. He is his name V-Touch, like Broward V-Touch, and he just like starts bikes with his hand, and it's like been my guilty pleasures watching those videos. So anyway, Jay was like talking about how the racetrack that he was going to was like closed today, and I was like, oh, you can go make some trails in my house, joking around. And he was like, I'm down. So we learned how to ride the tractor, grabbed our chainsaw, and we're about to try out the new trails.
I'm a farmer now.
How do you like it, Florida life?
Pretty darn good. I think I got a lot of poison ivy, but it's okay.
I don't think we have that here.
I got something.
All right, don't give it to me. So if you remember one time way back, we took the K truck back here, but it got super overgrown and it needed to be all re-cleared out again. But this is one of the cooler trail systems that kind of loops around the backside of the property. I should have grabbed the GoPro because it's kind of hard to ride and do this at the same time. So this looks like we need to build some wood bridges or something, or like this is not gonna be fun with a dirt bike. Maybe I can blaze a path through like the non-muddy place. Over at Drift HQ, I've got the C4 back on the dyno and it's time to turn up the boost. So basically where we left off on this last time, we're slipping the clutch a little bit, so we left it at gate pressure, and gate pressure allowed us to net 358 horsepower and around 280 foot-pounds of torque. There's a very safe curve on the motor, and hopefully it will continue to follow this trend, but we want to move it up as we add boost, hopefully shooting for around 450, 480 wheel. There's not a lot of information out there on this motor, which is an NA Neo. So this is a motor that would have come in an R34, non-turbo, a little bit higher compression, slightly different pistons, but allegedly the same rods. So they should be able to handle just as much as a normal Neo would, but the head gasket is kind of our limiting factor here because we just have a stock head gasket with drop-in studs. I've gotten away with a lot by doing that on my RB26 that was in my R32. I was making almost 600 horsepower, but you gotta be careful about mid-range in it. So when we're tuning this car, I'm gonna watch the torque and where the boost comes in, and I might have Jamie dial back a little bit down low and add a little boost up top just to watch the cylinder pressure. That's it, we're done. We're done. We gotta clean up the fueling a little bit, Sean. Okay. Around 20 PSI on a G3770, we were pretty dang close to hitting my goal of 480 wheel. As you can see, we made 464, not too bad for an RB25. However, we started seeing a small drop in fuel pressure. So what we did is the good old-fashioned trick of sending a straight constant power source from the battery. A lot of times in the factory wiring, if your alternator is producing 14 volts, the fuel pump might only be seeing 12.5, 13, and that 2 volts could be the difference of 50 to 100 horsepower of fuel pressure. The proper way to do it is with a relay, but just to diagnose it quick, send a straight wire right off battery. You gotta be careful doing this because there's no fuse, so if something goes wrong, the wire can get hot. So I would literally touch it after the pull, kind of ghetto, I know. And then send a ground straight to the chassis instead of through the factory harness. That way the fuel pump has good ground too. Doing that solved the fuel pressure issue a little bit, but not all the way, because it's still at 20 pounds from like 6,500 RPM to 7,500 RPM, we were seeing a 10 PSI fuel pressure drop, which is not good because it doesn't let the ECU do what it needs to do, and then you have to adjust the VE for basically compensating for stuff that's going on. So to be safe, we dropped it down to 420 Blaze It horsepower, which we saw very minimal fuel drop. Still quite the sizable increase over what it was before, which was 350 horsepower. But I want to get the car on a lift. I want to look through the fuel system. I'm going to look at the fuel filter and make sure it's not clogged. I'm going to go into the tank and make sure that the clamp on the fuel pump is all the way tight so it's not blowing out. And then the last resort would be inspecting the regulator, seeing if something funky is going on. It's a brand new regulator, brand new fuel pump, but maybe there's some sediment in the tank that got loosened up from the ethanol and it's clogging the fuel filter. Nonetheless, a 70 horsepower jump should be enough to spin the wheels, so I'm stoked about that, and I'll dive into this thing tomorrow. Dishworks actually makes a really nice fuel pump relay kit that I'll show you. Makes the process super easy. If you are taking any car that traditionally made sub 200 horsepower and put it up to 400, you need a fuel relay. Any tuner will tell you to do it, and it's better to do it before the dyno than at the dyno. New day. First thing I'm gonna start with is diving into the fuel filter and making sure there's no sediment from the tank in it before I pull the fuel pump out and check what's going on there. You can see we have our ECU Master flex fuel sensor on the return line. We've got the fuel filter on the feed side. And I'm gonna disconnect these lines, but rather than letting the fuel leak out, which I normally do because I'm lazy, Johan showed me we have these cool little plastic caps that we can use just so I don't lose all the fuel. Like all the other cars, we run a Dishwork stainless mesh filter in here, which makes it very easy to service in case we do have an issue with some sediment. But we'll take a look. The good news is the filter looks extremely clean. The bad news is that means that there's a problem somewhere else. So diving into the fuel tank I go.
So I have the plate off the car. We drilled most of the mounting spots on it. I marked it on the inside so I know where the chassis line is. We know how far down we can go. So if we put it too far down, it'll interfere with the car. So it'll be just above that line. And then what I want to do with these fittings are, clean them up and weld them to this plate so that working with other cars, these, when you're loosening, tightening these AN lines, these like to get loose. And then when this one in the back gets loose, especially inside of the car where you cannot get to it easily with a wrench, it makes it pretty hard to tighten everything back up. So you have to have somebody in the car tighten it. But now I've found my center. I'm gonna drill a hole. Then I'm gonna use the fancy hole saws that we got to get a nice precise hole on there. Weld the locking nut on it, and then we can start making the lines. Got the fittings in there. These will be engine breather, cash can, return from engine fee.
Actually rather easy to access the fuel pump in this car. A little annoying because of the fact that we have AN lines on it and it's underneath the wing, but we don't need to take apart any interior, just a few bolts, and we should be able to pull out the fuel assembly and see what's going on. We don't get the fancy camera, we're not the Mark 5. Is it recording? Yep. You're recording. That's the recorder. Now I'm doing it. Did Johan just say he's gonna pull the red out? You gotta remove the wing actually to take the fuel pump out. Really? Imagine. Come on. It's like a puzzle. Give it a yank. I only had to spin it around 4,000 times. Actually not that much fuel leaking. Love that.
Is that a 400?
DW 400.
Oh.
But I was wondering if maybe the line was not tight enough and it was maybe pissing out a little bit off top. A little bit. I like this. It fits pretty nice in here.
Why does it spin so easily?
There's not that much sediment on here either. I'll clean it regardless. Tune back in when I figure out what the f is going on. So the fuel pump was a little bit loose on this guy, and as you can see, there's no flare or anything on this. So it's possible that when we are under high boost, once it started seeing 60 PSI or so, it started pushing out a little bit here, finding the path of least resistance, rather than going in the hole that it's supposed to. So I think I'm gonna try to cut this and put a flare on it just to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Johan showed me how to use the flare tool. It's actually the first time I've used one of these things, but it looks pretty self-explanatory. So add a flare and hopefully we don't have any fuel pressure issues anymore. I don't feel super confident in this factory ground connection. Just not the tightest pinch, and I think I'm just gonna redo it by drilling a hole in here and then using like a circle butt connector so it has a little more surface area to the ground of the wire. This upper crimp is the sketchy part of this, even though it's hard to see. Feel much better about this guy. Drop her back in. Hope that solves the issue.
Heard a little buddy of mine showed up, didn't even tell me. You know? Look at this guy. What the are you doing here, bud?
Dude, your gate was open. I just come steal a couple things, you know? Just in and out real quick. I already got a trunk, got a rear bumper, got some side skirts. I don't even know whose car this is. Just real quick.
Joel.
Oh, yeah, Joel. Yeah.
This is for your LS car?
The more he doesn't know, the better, yeah. Yeah, no, it is.
That's sick.
Yeah, no, it's at the frame shop right now, and we're getting it straightened out, and I'm coming here with a hot boy looking car.
Ooh.
You better get ready for it. I know you're Mr. Hot Boy.
Oh, hell yeah.
So get prepared.
Well, I remember how it used to be too, so I'm excited to see what it's gonna be now.
It looked like a dump, dude. It still does. It still does right now.
I mean,
but-
when that era, like when it was done, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked good, but it's gonna look even better now.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Same. Manhandle.
Came here for a trunk latch.
I came here for a trunk latch. I'm leaving with a trunk latch, a trunk, side skirts, rear bumper, passenger side door trim, a hood, and maybe fenders.
Just take the car.
Can I just take the car? I'll give you like $50.
Honestly,
This thing's
everybody-
kind of a piece, and after I'm done with it, it's kind of junk.
You're actually helping me out by partying it out pretty much. Like,
Yeah,
you're
no,
taking off of it. I don't have to touch it.
Dude's gonna start paying me. You hear that?
Honestly,
It's really rubbing me the right way.
I don't want to be rubbing you anyway.
No, for sure. No, for 75, I'm taking the hood and I'm taking the door trim.
Yep, 100. It's crazy how the conversion rate is nowadays.
It's funny because I was like, "Yo, I'll give you 100 for the hood." He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Ah, should have did 50." You know?
Yeah.
So 75, we got a deal. All
I
good.
had the hood up for like 150 or something like that.
I haven't done the proper relay yet, but I have the in-tank setup figured out. So I'm gonna do a pull and I'm gonna show you the data so we can see if it made a difference or not. We've opened up the ECU Master software and we're looking at a log from one of the previous pulls. You can see when we hit 31 PSI absolute, which is about 16.5 PSI, we have 65 PSI of fuel pressure, but by red line, that's falling down to about 59. Now this is not that dramatic because it's at a less boost level, but when it was cranked up another 5 pounds, we were seeing as much as a 10 PSI drop, which doesn't let the VE do what it's supposed to do. So we're gonna do a pull and compare it to that data. Part of my lack of filming, I'm doing like 8 million things right now, so I wanted to focus on what was going on, but I just did a pull, and you can see fuel pressure stays quite flat now. It's around 66, 67. Then up at redline, it's still around 66, 67 instead of falling off to 59 PSI. So now we can turn the boost back up. Should be mint. That's it for this video. I'm stoked to get this thing back on the road. Hopefully in the next video, we'll do some pulls with it and everything with the Supra is gonna be coming together. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one and I'll see you soon.